Welcome to the last day of February, the last day of Black History Month, the last day of, well, whatever, everything that came before. I'm the host this week, Matt Dillahunty. Joining me, Shannon Q. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? I'm excited. This is the first one that we've done this year. I'm excited.
Yeah,
you know, haven't posted together in 2021.
It's because you don't like me enough.
That's fair. It's a true story, actually. I wasn't going to tell anybody, but now it's out there. Now everybody knows.
I remember once upon a time when I used to show up and say, hey, I'm your host this week, and I was in charge of stuff, and now I'm not in charge of anything other than making the announcements and sitting back while Shannon takes charge. But I wanted to point, I was going to do like a welcome is what John Oliver would say if he was hosting the show, but he's not. And yes, I have really bad ideas that I just don't punish people with when we actually go live. So welcome, everybody. This is the Atheist Experience, a production of the Atheist Community of Austin, a nonprofit educational organization promoting positive atheism and the separation of religion and government. If you are watching us live on YouTube right now, directly up above, the chat is a place where you can click the donate link, and 100% of those donations go directly to the Atheist Community of Austin as a nonprofit. Google and YouTube don't take any portion of that, and that goes to help fund the behind-the-scenes stuff, including some things we'll get to in a little while. But importantly, not only does the ACA produce this show, this program here on Sunday afternoons, but on Sunday earlier in the day at 1, we have Talk Heathen. And in between Talk Heathen and Atheist Experience, we have Nonprofits, which is a record episode with new people on it all the time. And I'm hearing so many good things about it, and I've enjoyed it, but by all means, tune in and see how you're doing. Thursdays is Secular Sexuality. Fridays is Truth Wanted. If you want to support the show, you can do that in a number of different ways, including a merchandise link, which is up on the screen now. You can get your coffee cups and mugs and t-shirts, coffee cups and mugs, coffee mugs and t-shirts and other things like that. And you can get a membership at YouTube, which will allow you to have special icons and doohickeys, or you can go to patreon.com/theatheistexperience to support there through Patreon. We have a couple of different ways that you can communicate with people in our community, in the unofficial communities, etc., including the Atheist Experience fan group, which we're letting everybody know that's group/AXPFG, and the Atheist Experience private fan group, which is AXPPFG. And I'll skip all the normal jokes. All of these, by the way, the only reason I'm allowed to do the jokes is because everybody knows how bad this will be. And then they look better by comparison. And the only reason any of us look better at all is because of those people right there. There's your crew. There's the people who are screening the calls and adjusting the video and adjusting the audio and just being generally awesome. And before we get to calls, my co-host tweeted something out today, which I thought,
like to do.
Yeah. And it says, of note, well, you read it, Shannon, it's your tweet.
It is my tweet. Of note is cultural juxtaposition. When I was a Christian, in my day-to-day life, I was almost never forced into justification of my belief. Once I became an atheist, however, people started demanding one. To me, this speaks distinctly towards the cultural bias regarding belief.
And my one-word response to that tweet was amen, which I love to say because I also love to remind people that it's not a religious word at all. It just shows your assent or agreement. But that tweet demonstrates it's so true, and it was. I loved it as soon as you did it, because in a day-to-day life, I never had to justify my belief, not once, and yet now it happens fairly regularly. And now, granted, we're doing a show, and the show is, if you would like to tell us what you believe and why, if you would like to be the person who does the thing that we were rarely asked to do in day-to-day life, which is defend your belief, then by all means call in and do that. But even in that case, this isn't day-to-day life. We're not going around knocking on your door asking you, have you stopped believing in Jesus? Or, could you please provide the proof and evidence that shows that you're actually correct? We don't do that. It's call in. And there was a theist on Twitter who just couldn't get it. And I was like, call in. I'm getting ready to go live here in 28 minutes. I don't have time to argue on Twitter. I'll just call in. I'll explain it to you. Because by and large, if you are part of the majority, you are not likely to have to justify yourself to anyone. It's assumed, when you move into a new neighborhood, at least, in the United States, you move into a new neighborhood, somebody's going to say, hey, what church you go to, or invite you to their church. It's just assumed that you're not a godless heathen. It's assumed that you're some sort of theistic person like them. And it has this privileged position, both with regard to whether or not you're likely to get elected, whether or not you are, when serving as a member of government, whether you're going to be taken more seriously. When you walk around, it's, hey, we're going to swear. Do you swear, so help me God? Do you swear on a Bible? All of these things are all evidence of us being steeped in a theism by default culture.
Correct.
And it's not true. It's not who we are. And that's the reason we do this show. And that's the reason I wanted to show that tweet, because.
Well, I appreciate it, because I think that one of the things that people take for granted is that, especially theists, is that their position is perceived as sort of the default. And anything deviating from what permeates the culture seems like, if you're deviating from what's the perceived majority of culture, then and only then do you need to provide justifications, which I think brings it to the forefront. And it's something more theists should think about, is that they aren't often challenged to provide justification, because it's just perceived as the default position that most people within their cultural context, and your mileage may vary based on your individual cultural context, is to believe. But where I grew up, at least, and I would say probably where you are in Texas, that would be the case, that you don't need to provide justifications for your beliefs en masse, at least in your day-to-day life, up until you deviate from what permeates the culture. And it's just something worth thinking about, I think.
And it popped up in my head that, like, think about the people who are raised in a family of theists, and then they stop believing. All of a sudden, the entire family is now a gang wanting that person. Quite often, not every time, not everybody's family is the same, wanting that person to justify their belief. And it doesn't work the other way around, because when you try, well, please prepare to watch the Atheist Experience live from Austin, Texas, and somewhere in Canada on February 28th, 2021. And you will see that when people are asked to defend their beliefs, it fails. And instead, in many cases, they'll turn it around. And I can't count the number of times it's been, well, you don't have a justification for any sort of morality, so you can't say anything at all, which to me is equivalent to, I just got my ass kicked with reason and I don't have any sort of response left, so I'm just going to accuse you of something and pretend like I won. Yeah.
And when you don't deviate from the cultural context, even in the same sort of family scenario that you brought up, when somebody says, okay, I'm a Christian too, just like the rest of us, you're not asked, okay, why? Why are you a Christian?
When I walk
what did
down
you do to come to that conclusion? You're just accepted that that is the accurate and correct conclusion without requirement to provide justification. So that's what you become used to.
Yep. And when I walked down the aisle at age of 5 to accept Jesus in my heart, it was a celebration, because now I'm a part of all the rest of them.
Right.
And now the opposite has happened, because now I am apart from all of the rest of them.
Right. It's worth thinking about. It's interesting, I thought.
Well, let's get, unless you got something else to add, let's get some calls.
No. If I have anything else to add, I'll tweet about it. We'll see what happens.
And I will share it, because that's what she pays me for.
That's right. I don't pay him much, to be fair. We're going to talk to Michelle. Hi, Michelle. Welcome to the Atheist Experience. What would you like to talk about today? Hi.
Hi. I just wanted to talk about my own experience and how I saw God in creation before I read the Bible, like when I was 12. I grew up in a secular home and in California, and my dad was an atheist, and so I sought God completely on my own. And so when I look at the creation, it's kind of like when you're into architecture and you look at a building and you're like, okay, that one's a Victorian, that one's Art Deco, that one's Gothic. There's certain things that, you look for that are consistent, that make you go, oh, okay, that's that person's creation. So I feel that way with God, because under a microscope, you will see things that you'll see from a telescope. So you'll see something
Michelle?
very, very tiny, and you also see it very, very huge. Yes.
Michelle, can I ask a question? How do I tell the difference between a Victorian style house and a Cape Cod style house?
Different aspects of it are the same.
Sure, but I would need to
there's certain.
In order for me to say, hey, this is a Cape Cod, I would point to things that I've seen in other Cape Cod houses, and to say this is a Victorian, I would point to things I've seen in other Victorian houses that has this particular style. And we know that when we go to identify a new house, we can say that one looks like it's a little bit of a mix between Victorian and Cape Cod. What were they thinking? And we can point to that because we have other reference points, right?
Yes.
Right?
I was going to get to my reference point.
Hang on.
If I may.
How many? Okay. Hang on. How many universes do we have?
Well, we have a bunch of galaxies, so I think we could consider them universes if we wanted to.
No, that's not what universe means, and
only-
that's not what universe means, and that's not how science works. You don't just get to. Yeah. Oh, do you think that God is only a God of this galaxy?
No, not at all.
Okay, then let's not divide it up into galaxies, because now we would be like people. How many universes do you have to explore?
Is it ours?
Yeah, just the one, right? So that means you have nothing to compare it to, which means there is no way possible for you to continue on your argument to say that there are things about this universe that point you towards God, because you have nothing to compare it to. Show me a universe that was created by a God and one that wasn't, so I can contrast them. But you can't do that because we have one. So there's no way, it is impossible for you to make your argument. Now, I'm going to stop. And
okay,
I'm going to, if you want to try, I won't have to say anything else, and Shannon will have fun.
Go ahead, Michelle. Go ahead.
Thank you. I'm not trying to bully you into believing anything. I'm just sharing my own experience and my own.
Of course.
thoughts.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Okay.
My question to you would be similar to Matt's. What's your referential point? Because you're saying that I've done a comparison. So I've looked at X things, and you're using architecture as an example, and I know that I can perceive design and architecture because I have a point of reference. What is your point of reference external to the universe to indicate design?
I don't know if it's necessarily something outside, because it's the natural world that I'm looking at. So
So would you just not be saying that the natural world has some sort of uniformity that I can perceive? And wouldn't that to be expected?
Yeah, the repeating of the golden ratio in creation, whether it be
Well, you're referring to it as creation. So you're saying the repeating of the golden ratio. So what you're saying to me, this is the way that I would perceive what you're perceiving, just to give you a juxtaposition of two of us perceiving the same things and looking at them from a different perspective. You're saying I see consistent patterns, and thus because I see consistent patterns, that's evidence that those patterns were placed there for some reason. I don't know why. And I'm saying that if the universe operates using a specific set of rules, we would anticipate seeing specific patterns. And that's evidence of nothing other than the physical universe operates on a given set of rules. Does my position not explain the phenomena that you're describing?
Well, personally, it doesn't for me, because
Why not?
when I see a snowflake, which you can't see a snowflake unless you catch it really quickly and it's very, very cold out, to see the intricate design. And also you see those things. For me,
no, you're talking naked eye then. I'm talking see as in be able to look at. So you could see a snowflake, for example, under a microscope. And like you said, if you catch it very quickly. So that doesn't negate my point, which is that's a form of pattern. And given the physical constraints within the systems, the physical systems that exist within the universe, that's why physics exists as a field of study, we would anticipate that things would form into patterns that we would perceive, especially since we're kind of pattern recognition machines, given the physical constraints of the universe. So seeing patterns and seeing things that form into patterns is something we would anticipate given the limitations of and constraints of physical systems. So seeing patterns isn't something that's special. It doesn't deviate from what we anticipate. In fact, it is what we would anticipate, knowing what we know about how the universe operates. So what about that entails that there is something special outside of the universe causing that to happen?
Well, for me, I don't think something beautiful and intricate and something that is so prevalent is going to just occur on its own.
Why?
For
what conceivable reason would it not occur on its own? And how does it not conforming to the constraints of the physical system of the universe we exist within entail that it exists on its own as opposed to as an emergent property of the universe that we see given the regulations that we see and the existing material within the universe and how it has to form and reform given those physical constraints? I do talk very fast. I'm
And
sorry.
if you would stop trying to make your point, you would have heard it.
No, I'm hearing it, but I'm not allowed to make my point either. So
No, I'll be quiet for a
What
moment.
a
so you can make
load
yours.
of shit. What a load of shit. The fact that Shannon was addressing something, how could you possibly suggest that you're not being allowed to make your point?
I talked over her once, to be
she's
fair. It's
saying
okay.
something, but she's saying it. Yeah. Thank you, Shannon. Is that your name?
That's okay.
Shannon? I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead. I'll be quiet for a moment so you can.
Oh, okay. So for me, we're in constant like entropy, which is like dissolving into non-order. So when I see something that is in such, not just in order, but in beauty that like blows my mind, that for me just, it's like common sense to me. So that's why we're all humans, so we have things in common. So when we look at something, that it just kind of bugs me that we don't see the same thing sometimes.
Yes, it bugs me too, because you are looking at the world and saying, I just can't believe that could happen without a God. And I'm looking at the world saying, hey, can that happen without a God? I have no way of knowing. What reason do I have to believe that there's a God in the first place? I don't have one. You have a bias that you have already admitted to. You will not accept that something beautiful like that could happen without a designer. That is a flaw in your thinking, because you're assuming something that you cannot and have not demonstrated, and you are using that to reach the very conclusion that you were biased towards from the beginning, because the first words out of your mouth after talking about your dad being an atheist was that you sought out God, not that you sought out the truth.
Yeah, I sought out God for answers because I saw that he existed in my own reasoning.
In your own head.
You know what I'm saying? Of course,
Yeah,
I wanted the truth
no
that I was seeking was the answer to why
I don't believe that you went looking for the truth, because if you go looking for the truth, you don't begin with an assumption. You don't begin with the assumption that something beautiful can't happen unless there's a designer.
12 years old, so I can't. I'm sorry that I don't live up to your expectations, but when I was 12 years old, I sought God for answers,
I'm sorry that you haven't grown since 12 on this subject.
I have. I definitely have.
Okay, then give us something beyond what the 12-year-old you came up with. That's what we need.
Okay. I mean, I know that you like to be mean, but I'm not going to take offense.
No. Stop. How dare you suggest that I like to be mean or that I'm being mean? What I'm trying to be is forthright. I'm trying to not waste all the other callers' time. I'm trying to get to a point where we can make some sort of determination. And I gave you the way out at the beginning because you acknowledged that you reached a conclusion about the universe that is wholly unjustified, because your analogy was, hey, here's something I can determine because I've seen other things like it. And you have one universe. How dare you accuse me of being mean for just holding your feet to the fire?
I'm not saying anything to offend you. I just would like to at least.
I don't care if you're offending me or not. You said I like to be mean. That's a fucking lie.
I'm sorry. I know. Okay, I'm sorry.
Fine.
Can I please finish? Because quantum physics, I'm into that too. I like science. So that's.
Do you have a degree in any relevant field relevant to quantum physics? I'm going to bet no. I'll bet every dollar in my wallet no.
Okay. Can I say what I wanted to say, please?
Are you going to answer the question?
They say.
Are you going to answer the question?
You still haven't let me make my point yet.
Are you going to answer the question?
Went off on something.
Are you going to answer the question?
Can you repeat it? I'm sorry, I didn't know.
Do you have a degree in a field relevant to quantum mechanics?
Of course not.
Of course not. Yes, which is why I was willing to bet everything in my wallet. So why would I sit around and listen to the armchair pontifications of somebody who has no expertise in this field, as opposed to those people who do?
I am trying to reason with you from my point of view as to why I see God without.
We already know why you see God. You wanted to see God, and you won't believe that there's not a God. Sorry, what?
If I may, when they do the quantum physics, experiments, they say without an observer, like when it's observed.
Oh my fucking God! Please stop, Michelle.
Trust me.
I don't want you to embarrass yourself further online. You don't know a thing about quantum mechanics. You don't know a thing about the observer, and you have bought into a lot of nonsense to go down a road to claim that there must be a God because there must have been an observer. That has nothing to do with collapsing the quantum indeterminacy. You are embarrassing yourself now.
Like it does when I learn about it. Personally, when I learn about it, I feel like it does.
Okay. Well, I don't care what your personal understanding is because you are wrong. You are inconsistent with the scientists. And the fact that you are sitting here smugly talking about, well, this is what makes sense to me when I read it, as opposed to what the actual scientists say, that's embarrassing as well.
That is what the scientists say. That's why I brought it.
It's not. You don't. I'll shut up. Go ahead, Shane.
It's okay, Michelle. I'm so sorry. I know I can sense that this is becoming heightened, and I want to bring it down for a sec. And the only and specifically because I had asked you a question initially that I'm hoping, and I think it would be fruitful if we're able to get an answer from. And now I gave you my perspective on what explains the perception of beauty and uniformity and pattern recognition in the physical world, and said that essentially, like, given my perspective, that would be an expected outcome. And I asked you, and I don't believe I got an answer yet, if you could see how that in and of itself is an adequate answer that doesn't require an outside explanation. I was hoping that I might be able to get an answer to that question.
Well, I personally don't think that it makes sense because, like, when I was listening the other day and he asked if you could tell the difference between a dam that was made by a beaver and a dam that was just like made naturally with a bunch of stick and mud and sticks.
Right.
That's what the difference is. Like, if things are in a constant state of entropy, which is
what do you think entropy means? So when you say entropy, like you referenced a snowflake earlier, right? So a snowflake exists but will melt. That's a sign of entropy. So are you suggesting that beautiful things wouldn't exist because of entropy, because you've referenced beautiful things, or that things that appear designed wouldn't exist because of entropy, because you refer to a snowflake as something that appears designed, even though we know that it doesn't last forever? So it sounds to me as though my explanation holds truer, even given the constraints of entropy, than yours does, because based on yours, the things that you perceive as beautiful wouldn't be subject to entropy, and everything that you've proposed thus far is.
No, I feel like it's like when I clean my house, I have to do that on a regular basis because it's constantly falling into entropy, that kind of a thing. It's constantly
that's okay.
going.
You just keep going. You just keep going with what you feel like, and we just keep showing that you don't understand the science one bit. And yet you just keep going back to, this is what I feel like. I feel like this. Well, nobody cares about what you feel like. We care about what you can demonstrate.
I think that's demonstratable. When you don't clean your house, it turns into a shit pile.
And when you don't keep a snowflake frozen, it melts. But yet you referred to a snowflake as something that was a demonstration of design, and then appealed to entropy as evidence that things were designed. Because otherwise, if they weren't designed, they would be subject to entropy, which means that your defense of your argument is also simultaneously a defeater to your argument, given the examples that you utilized. So your house being cleaned again is you going and cleaning your house. I understand that. A snowflake being formed again is a snowflake being formed again because of the constraints of the physical world that we know
from this plane
and can predict. So because we know and can predict that a snowflake will form, and we understand the conditions under which it will form, us perceiving it as beautiful isn't evidence that it was designed. It's evidence of perception. Entropy and the fact that it somehow will no longer exist if it isn't evidence that it was designed any more than it's actually more further evidence that the physical world creates these systems and our perceptions assign it the attribute of beauty. Now,
yes, it's not like beauty is some attribute. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. It is subjective entirely. It is experiential. It's not like a flower is in fact beautiful. You perceive it as beautiful. And we have evolutionary, naturalistic explanations for why you would see it as beautiful and why a bee might see it as more beautiful than you do. And none of it has anything to do with a God. But you are the prime example of the Dunning-Kruger effect when it comes to science. You don't know what you don't know, but you're really confident that you got it right when you don't.
Can I ask you a question? Have you seen that experiment where they put like a little bit of sand and a speaker underneath it, and they do different decibels of sound, and it makes different patterns?
Yes.
Yes.
It's not an experiment. But it's you can do it. I mean,
Demonstration. Yeah.
sure. It's a demonstration of sound moving matter. Yes. What's the question?
Okay. And then yeah. Okay. So that doesn't strike you as really cool that it actually makes.
Yeah, it is really cool. You know what else is really cool? The golden ratio, 1.61, et cetera. But none of that speaks to intent. There are patterns in nature because there is regularity, because there is a uniformity. Now, there's still chaos in the pattern, which is why those sand things don't always fall exactly the same way. They form the same generalized pattern because that is the shape that audio waves go. Audio waves are movements of air. And it's physical. It's not, you see, you're looking at this design as if it's formed by magic. It is absolutely 100% physical. There is a speaker, it is vibrating at a particular frequency, and that will move, and the regularity of that physics will define a pattern. And the differences in the vibration of that speaker will form different patterns. This is absolutely bare bones, basic 101 science. Nothing in it points to a God.
That's what I don't understand is for me.
I know you don't understand. That's the point.
It just as like, that would just occur on its own. And especially because it is something that occurs in small things and in big things. Like, that too just shows me also within our own body.
But they all adhere to the existing principles of our universe, right? Like the existing constraints and principles of our physical universe are always adhered to. We get, and the more we know about the constraints and how our universe operates, the better chance we have of predicting these types of patterns and knowing how they'll operate given those constraints. And it doesn't happen in a vacuum is what we're trying to say, Michelle. It doesn't happen simply because somebody placed it here so that we would think it's pretty, which seems to be what you're appealing to, is that we wouldn't perceive beauty unless someone placed beauty here for us to perceive it. We perceive it as beautiful because we exist within this world, and it's certain things within this world, given the physical constraints of what's capable within this world, we will almost inevitably perceive as beautiful. Now, that being something that's a perception that we have doesn't entail that someone put it there solely for us to perceive, which is what we're trying to say to you. But what you're trying to say to us is, no, that was placed there so we could perceive it as beautiful. Otherwise, there's no explanation as for why we think it's beautiful. Can you see that? Does that line of reasoning follow for you?
I can understand where you guys are coming from, but I just personally don't
okay.
feel like it makes sense.
I feel like we are going to have this conversation potentially ad nauseum for a very long degree of time if we don't end it now. I appreciate it, and thank you for having the conversation with us, but we do have other callers, and it was interesting to have the conversation with you, and I hope it was fruitful for you as well. So thank you, Michelle, and have a good rest of your weekend. See you later.
No.
Oh, I accidentally I hung up on her, but I feel like that would have just been more of the same. If I had it.
Because evidently I like being mean.
Oh, you don't like being mean, Matt. You're just more curt than me.
I don't even try to be mean, but if I ask, look, bring your A game. And if your A game is, but I just feel like when I look at the science that it tells me this, you're not ready. You need to actually go learn some science, not, hey, I read an article. You know, when there was all these cool science articles about this God particle thing, and now I want to reference quantum mechanics and quantum physics when I talk about God. Well, do you know anything at all about it? Nope, but that hasn't stopped me yet.
And the appeal to beauty always gets me because it's such a self-centered view also. Essentially saying everything was put here so that we would think it's pretty. What about the shitty stuff? That was put here too. Yeah. There's some not beautiful things. We don't think everything's beautiful.
That pretty person that you want to kiss, just remember that's the same mouth they puke out of. See? And this whole thing. So the patterns on the speakers. Oh my gosh, how could that happen? That is a failure of the education system to not show someone the basics of physics, because it's the same thing we get when you say, well, you can't see air, as if we can't demonstrate the truth of air, as if what you see in your eye is the only thing that matters. But without those patterns, the physical patterns, which are just the rudimentary aspects of physics, you wouldn't be here to observe it. Yeah. Without some level of order, there could be no humans, whether there's a God or not. And so what they're doing is they're looking at the order saying, well, that order must have come from a God. How do you know that?
Right.
And by the way, they go on to believe in this God that is personal. When he calls or she calls or they call, and by that I mean the God they believe in, that'll be impressive. Why does this God keep hiding himself or herself or themselves?
And also, in a universe that exists, that we're able to exist within, wouldn't you anticipate a degree of order in order for everything to just not be chaos? Otherwise, the degree of order would be something that would be like an inherent property of that system. Otherwise, we would exist within chaos. So the fact that we don't exist within chaos is an inherent property. So saying that there is no chaos is just like saying we exist in the system that we exist within, which is proof of nothing other than the fact that we exist within the system that we exist within. So
when you look around at nature and say, oh, this nature must have been designed for us. You know what would be better evidence of God? To find us living in a place that wasn't suited for us.
That makes no goddamn sense.
Right. Hey, I live in the vacuum of space, near a black hole. And I have no explanation for any of it.
Yeah, I'm just wandering around.
That'd be a miracle. saying, gosh, it's so surprising that we live on this planet that's suitable temperature-wise and with the right chemicals and the right processes and food access and all these other things. That's just such a surprise.
Can you imagine? We exist where we can exist. Who would have predicted?
I can't believe there's tomatoes in that tomato patch.
We should probably take more calls.
Yes.
All right. We will talk to, let's find another theist. Pardon me, cervical. Okay, we'll talk to Alejandro then. Alejandro, welcome. What would you like to talk about today?
Well, I just wanted to clarify something. Your screener said you'd probably agree with me that exists and does not exist. That'd be a true dichotomy.
It would be a true dichotomy if you had does exist and does not exist. That's a true dichotomy.
Sure.
All right. Well, if we agree on that point, then the statement, I don't know, or I lack a belief, can't correspond to reality.
What are you talking about?
So I don't know, that statement is
right.
The true dichotomy would be I do know.
No, because it's one of the two.
No.
Black or white.
That's a fact. No, sir. That is a fact. I do know and I do not know, though that is a true dichotomy. In the same way that I exist or I do not exist, or I do exist and I do not exist. The addition of the word not is what makes it a true dichotomy. And so for I do not know, I do know is the dichotomous position.
Oh, are you trying to say that because God does exist or God does not exist is a true dichotomy, that it's not a tenable position to say, I don't know if God exists, because then you're not holding a position on a true dichotomy that would be one or the other?
Correct. That would be that.
No, it's not correct. It's fallacious. Whether or not there is an even number or an odd number goes to the dichotomy of a number of items. That is separate from the meta level position of whether you believe it's even or whether you believe it's odd. But so I said, I do not know and I do know is a true dichotomy. And you said I was wrong.
I think you heard me on Talk Heathen. How nice.
I've never heard you on Talk Heathen. Hang on. Hang on. I thought you were going to destroy my career. I thought you were going to destroy my career, and instead you keep lying and coming in under fake names, and then you present really boneheaded, stupid arguments that show that neither you nor the friend that you can put on the phone understands the basics of a true dichotomy. This is so much fun. Thank you for calling in once again, Canadian Catholic. I see my career is still intact. Now you can go cry. Bye-bye.
Have a good day. That's so funny because it's not even like he's trying to say that the position on whether or not you
No, it doesn't
believe
matter.
one or the other. Anyway, whatever. Doesn't matter. We'll go. Moving on.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Moving on up.
Moving on up. We're gonna go to Asif then. Asif, welcome.
Hello.
Don't say dichotomy. Don't do it.
Hello.
Or at least get it right.
Yeah, that's right. Welcome.
Hi, Matt. Hi, Shannon.
Hello, my friend.
Hi.
I'm a long-time fan of yours, man.
Oh, well, I'll try not to break that record.
That makes one of us. Oh!
This is also my first time live, so let's enjoy it. Let's get down to it then.
Okay.
I would like to talk about 3 things today.
Okay.
Three things?
Three?
One
You say
being
3?
general,
Let's start with
Let's
start with
go
one
with
and
one.
see how it goes.
He's
All
a
right.
sin.
So the first one is the general, I would say, logic of it. And let's try to explain it in 2. So I see the world as, can we both agree that there is one thing? If we look at it,
Asaf,
we can see,
Asaf,
yeah. Yeah.
I think maybe I'd love to take the call,
There is
but it
only-
seems like you have not collected your thoughts. And I think maybe it'd be better if you like collected your thoughts and called back another time, because you've stumbled over the starting sentence like 4 times.
Maybe I got a little excited talking to you, Matt. But
Well, all right, don't get so excited. I'm not that. I'm
Not worth it.
not scary. I'm not impressive. Nothing. Just so I don't even know. You said you want to talk about 3 things, and then you jumped around. So I don't even know what the one thing you picked is. Can you tell us what the one thing you picked to talk about?
can we all agree that in the universe or in this existence there is only one thing?
Only
We
one
can, of
thing.
course,
No.
see-
No, I no. So you started off with, can we all agree that in existence there is only one thing? Did I hear that correctly?
Yeah.
No, I don't agree with that. There are many things.
So let's talk about that for a second. Do you think there are many things? I say that you perceive many things, but there's
Okay.
actually
Oh,
only
you
one.
picked the wrong pony for perception, dude.
Yeah, I'll just stop now.
What?
Why? Oh, because I studied perceptual cognition.
But setting aside that, from a philosophical standpoint, you are now just equivocating. And one could make the same case that everything is one, or that one is everything. And so I could say there's many things, and you could make a case for there being one thing, and somebody else could say there's one thing, and I could make a case for there being many things. And this is entirely contextual.
Where's
So when you say stop, when you say in existence, can we all agree that there's just one thing, and you have not in any way defined or described the one thing that you're talking about, and I say, no, I don't agree, now you think you're clever. Well, you're not clever, Asif. You have to actually tell me what the thing is, not, hey, you disagree with me. So what is the one thing that you think is the only one thing that exists?
Asif? He's still there. Asif, what's the one thing? I'm on the edge of my seat. I need to know what the one thing that exists is and how it's the only thing we perceive. I guess.
Bad arguments for theism. That's the one thing that exists.
All right. We're batting 1,000 today, I guess. All right.
Yeah.
So
I
I
don't know
guess
what the
we'll
one
go to Zeno. All right. Hi, Zeno. What would you like to talk about? And it can't be dichotomies or the one thing that exists. We've already exhausted that. What would you like to talk about?
It's not that. It's not that.
Thank God. Go ahead.
You guys are. No, I'm joking. So no, I want to call about the existence of a God. All right.
Okay.
And I first want to state off that Matt, you're pretty damn cool. Shannon, you're awesome. I
Thanks.
listened to you guys for a while. So I was an atheist. I'm not an atheist anymore.
Okay.
So,
Okay, I need to stop you right here because sucking up is not going to make this go any better.
It will with me.
I know. I know.
Because it says here that you're about to tell me that there's scientific evidence for God, and that you're a deist for this reason, right?
Yes. Yes.
Bring it on.
Yeah.
I am, and And first, I guess I've had these debates with people. I used to be atheist, so I had these.
I don't need a preamble or a backstory. I just need the A game.
I know. And I guess to make progress, we have to define what God is. So we actually know what we're talking about.
Okay.
So when I define a God, not the magic bearded guy in the sky, it's not, Zeus. I'm saying that it could be something. We don't know what it is.
Okay, this call is over, Zeno, because you are defining God as it could be something and we don't know what it is. And that is not a definition. Go look up what definition means.
Can we, Matt?
Look up what definition means and call in with the definition that is something stronger than could be something we don't know what it is. Goodbye.
I can go with that.
You idiot. I just read you your definition back to you. Of course you can go with it. It's not a definition. Hey, let me define the caller. It's somebody, maybe, we're not quite sure.
Could be a human. We're not sure. Who can define the attributes of what a human is anyway? It's impossible to define. Thus, don't know what it is. No one could conceivably know what it is. We'll just call whatever we come across that we decide is human.
It's inconceivable.
It's not a good definition. It's a definition that, by definition, defines nothing.
Yeah. All right. Next.
All right. And off we go. We are doing great. We'll talk to Seth. Seth. Hi, Seth. What would you like to talk about today? Welcome to the Atheist Experience. You need to have a definition. Don't talk about dichotomy. We have a list. What would you like to talk about?
No
Seth?
problems about that.
Okay.
I'd like to talk about religion and the formation and my thinking and my studies on that.
Religion in general or a specific religion?
No, all of them, actually.
So you want to talk about all religions and where they came from?
Yes, and my studies on, I think I pinpointed it.
Seth, did they all come from the same place? Because I know at least one of them came from L. Ron Hubbard.
Another one came from Joseph Smith or whatever.
Joseph Smith. So we know where a couple of them came from. So clearly they all didn't come from the same place.
Not the early 2000-year religions. I'm talking about older.
Oh, now you want to do a subset of religions and where they came from. Okay, go ahead.
Yes. So I describe myself as an Atlantean.
Why? Are you from Atlanta or Atlantis or what?
Don't say Atlantis.
No, because, yes, it is Atlantis.
No.
And why would you call yourself an Atlantean?
Because I think that there was a first civilization that enslaved us.
A first civilization that enslaved us? So we weren't the first civilization? Who was this civilization and how did we get enslaved? Because I've never been enslaved.
So how long have humans been on Earth? Modern humans?
Don't know.
Oh, God. Seth.
Have said about 178,000 years, right?
I've heard around 200, but it doesn't matter. What's the point?
200,000 years. So we have been cavemen. We have been hunter-gatherer society for that 200,000 years. What happened in the past 10,000 years that turned us into the evolutionary path that we are on? Domesticating animals, domesticating agriculture, metalsmithing, everything, art, that sort of thing. Well, Greenland, 12,800 years ago, there was a comet that fell.
There was a what?
31 kilometers wide.
There was a what?
Meteor.
There was a what?
Meteor? A comet.
Oh, a meteor, a comet. Okay, 12,000 years ago, some comet or whatever. What are we getting to Atlantis?
In Greenland.
Are we getting to Atlantis? Because I don't want to sit through 2 or 3 seasons of Stargate before we get to Atlantis.
Okay. So there is scientific evidence. There's a comet in Greenland that's 300 feet deep and 31 kilometers wide.
Where do you get from that to Atlantis? Like, where's Atlantis come from? Where, and how does religion pertain to Atlantis? Like, I do not have time for a dissertation, but I'm desperately interested in why Atlantis, all of religion came from Atlantis, you have to understand that this is not a tenable theory when you look at known history, right?
So Plato talks about it, right?
Oh, fuck me. Okay.
He talks about it in...
No, he doesn't.
He was told...
No, he doesn't.
Yes, he...
Plato doesn't talk about this in the sense that you're talking about. And you're talking about, why did we go to a crater or an asteroid impact and then to Plato? Are you able to draw a line and connect the dots to explain the answer to the question, which is why are you referring to Atlantis? Because you think there was a first, but what evidence is there for Atlantis as a first civilization that enslaved us? You didn't answer any of my questions.
Göbekli-Tepe.
What?
But that's in the... Göbekli-Tepe is an archaeological site. What? And it's not anywhere near an ocean.
Yeah. Meanwhile, so there's nothing about this call that can be useful to any of us, Seth, because even if you got to Atlantis, that doesn't get us to a religion. And even if you got to a religion thing, that doesn't in any way prove you're right. And this is a monumental waste of our time.
Yeah, Seth, I'm sorry. There's too much.
Just let me talk without interrupting me every
time. It's your own show. Go put some stuff on YouTube. This is not the place for batshit crazy ideas about Atlantis.
Oh my goodness. I dropped him because this is not conspiracy theory history hour.
Yeah. Call Truth Wanted. Friday nights. Call Truth Wanted.
Channel talk.
Explain to Dan how you know about Atlantis.
Goodness gracious. Okay, so now we'll talk to Charles. Let's see if our averages get better. All right, hi Charles. How you doing? What would you like to talk about today?
This is scary.
All right.
Because it says on the call screening thing, Charles, that you claim that you can prove God exists through mass extinctions.
Yes, well, your call screener actually said don't engage in too much preamble. So I have a slight confession. There's a certain element of hyperbole in my claim. But nevertheless, I think I can show you that it does give an emphasis that there could be a God. How about that?
I don't care if there could be a God. I care whether or not there is a God. And I'm not even convinced that you could demonstrate that there could be a God.
Well, let me try. Why don't you?
Define God.
So... Fine. Well, no, we don't need to define God yet.
Actually.
Yeah, you don't need to be on the show, do you?
You need to define what you're going to prove before you attempt to prove it. Doesn't that seem like a reasonable request? I'm going to prove something we've not yet defined.
Fine. Let us take an omniscient, omnipresent being. That's my definition. Now let's go with that.
So, now, hang on. Does omniscient mean? Does omniscient mean?
Matthew.
Excuse me? I'm asking for clarification on your definition.
Come on then.
Are you in a hurry or something? Are we bothering you? I'll tell you what. I don't want to bother you, so fuck off. Next.
I don't even know what to do with it.
I have zero interest in you and your smugness, not one bit. I'm sorry we bothered you.
We'll talk to Mike.
I don't necessarily think the accent was real or not. Who knows? But there's people in chat.
It did seem contrived, didn't it? Hi, Mike. How you doing? Hello. Are you there, Mike?
Hello. Yeah.
Hi, Mike. You said every creation has a creator, but it's not God. Kalam without God, but you're a theist.
That's how you doing, Mike?
Hey, I called before. You hung up on me because I said I don't believe in a God. I believe in a creator.
Okay.
Wouldn't that be a God?
Do you know the difference between a God and a creator, Matt?
It's a matter of opinion. So a creator, I'm a creator. I create things in the sense of content, and I'm not a God.
Yeah, God is when a creator is defined. Creator is something.
No. I just said I'm a creator. Therefore, I've defined it myself as a creator, and that doesn't make me a God.
You are a creator. You're a creator in training.
I said I was a creator. You're not listening. If you're not going to listen, we're not going to keep you on the phone. I said I was a creator.
I'm agreeing with you. You are.
No, you're not. And if you think, you're not listening. Otherwise, you'd know you weren't agreeing with me. I said I was a creator, but I'm not a god. And you said a god is a creator that's been defined. But I am a creator that has been defined, and I'm not a god. So your definition of a god is flawed. QED.
Creator is a characterization.
Well, all right. I tell you what. I'm going to stop. Please get to whatever point you have.
All right. Every creation has a creator. Everything in existence has a creator. You don't.
No, sir. That's a bald ass lie. Every creation does have a creator,
Right,
but you don't get to.
Three things that don't have a creator. Name three things that don't have a creator.
Hang on.
The universe.
Everything that is a creation has a creator. But we know that because we have identified that it is in fact created. You don't get to then say everything has a creator. That is something you have to prove. And by the way, you don't prove it by asking me to demonstrate things that came into existence that weren't created. That does not in any way prove your assertion that everything had a creator. Here you go. You're back. You were talking the whole time?
No, I wasn't talking the whole time. I was listening to you.
Okay, I don't believe you.
Okay, when you fart, you create stink. When you
No, I don't.
in the water, yes, you do.
No, I don't. The stink already existed. I'm just letting it get out. See, you don't know the basics even about biology.
Would your fart exist without you?
What is my life?
Would you get to a relevant point that is relevant to the atheist experience about a god? Any more talks about farts or anything else, and we'll just drop you like the bad habit.
I don't believe in a god. I believe in a creator. There's a difference.
I don't care if you believe in a creator.
God damn it.
So here,
I believe in a creator. I'm a creator. I believe in me.
Your definition of creator isn't viable.
Something that something into existence. That is the definition. You have a problem with the Oxford Dictionary?
Hey, jackass, listen up. Listen up really close. I have already acknowledged that I believe in a creator. Me. And Shannon's a creator, and I believe in Shannon. So you believe in a creator. What's the point? So do we.
The point is every creation has a creator, and time and space are creations.
No, they're not. You have to demonstrate that they are creations. You don't get to assert that they're creations, and that has nothing to do with whether or not we believe in a creator. So your entire creator definition or attempted definition was just a big waste of time, because your actual argument is everything was created.
Right.
Everything was created. Show me something.
Prove it.
Show me three things that weren't created.
Mike, listen really carefully, because now I know you're a big fucking liar and you weren't listening to me, because I said that there's no way to demonstrate that everything is created by asking someone to demonstrate three things that weren't created. Because when we look at things, you have no way to demonstrate that they either are or are not created. And the burden of proof is on you, because you're saying they are created. It could be impossible. I could sit here and never name a single thing that wasn't created, and you wouldn't still not have a valid sound argument.
So you go past observation. It's the axiom of creation. It's like
there is no axiom of creation. Now you're just making shit up. Go away.
Demonstrate that everything was created. How about that?
I already
demonstrate that everything was created, because you can't. You're just taking it as a presupposition that everything was created in order to make your argument, and then define creator as God so that you can assert its existence, which is annoying. Because you can't demonstrate that everything was created.
I dropped.
Well, I got my words in, I guess. We're like, are you ready for another one? Let's see how this one goes.
Probably not. It's just like we put out a call for A game, and we're getting like,
wow, it's
the axiom of creation. Pull the other one.
We'll talk to Khalid, I guess. Hi, Khalid. What would you like to talk about?
Hello.
Hi. Hello.
Hello. Yeah.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello. That's a sufficient amount of hellos.
Hello.
Hello. What would you like to talk about?
Yeah, I'm here. Okay.
Me too.
I wanna talk
You're
about-
on the air. Start talking, or we're going to drop it.
Okay. Do you accept the contingency argument, one that concludes there's a necessary being, not one that concludes there's a God?
No.
Yeah, there.
You don't? Okay. So I'll just present it for you.
No, sir.
No, I've heard.
I
of
don't need you to present it. I already said I don't accept it. What else you got?
know it? Okay. Right. Okay, so which premise do you reject?
I reject the conclusion for a starter because you're saying it requires a creator, or you're saying requires a being. Sorry, being. I'm still caught on creator, and it should just be sufficient cause.
You can let it go. That was a CC acolyte, or a Dark Dawkins acolyte, trying to do the exact same argument that Canadian Catholic did a few weeks ago when he ended my career.
Oh, is your career over?
I guess so. It
I wasn't
doesn't
aware.
matter. It doesn't matter if we keep setting new records for everything else. But anyway, continuing on.
All right, let's go with Jake. Hi, Jake.
Hello.
Hello. What would you like to talk about today?
God.
Yeah, you're saying God exists based on historical facts. What historical
Mhm.
facts prove a God?
Oh, interesting. Please be interesting.
Well, the historical facts are the Red Sea.
What about the Red Sea? Because I agree with you. It's a fact. There is a body of water that we identify as the Red Sea.
Don't say chariot wheel.
Well, one day I went on a trip with my church, and
And
Evidently, he hung up.
okay, he went on a trip with
That-
his church, and
It's bizarre because I was actually really excited because here's somebody saying, the facts from history prove there's a God. And the first fact is the Red Sea. I agree the Red Sea's there. I don't know what about the Red Sea could possibly prove a God. And now I may never know.
I so desperately want to interact with somebody who's going to say something interesting that isn't, purposefully being antagonistic just to amuse themselves. So I hope Ricky's better.
Oh, I'm sure.
Hi, Ricky.
Hey, Ricky.
What would you like to talk about?
Yeah, I would like to talk about the Book of Mormon.
Okay. Are you a proponent of the Book of Mormon?
Yes. Well, that's what I'm calling, I guess, just to have a lot of, theories about it. And I really like history. And I think that the Book of Mormon is pretty spot on, at least in certain parts. And I think if I could at least present those explanations, and if they are right, I think that we have a pretty good case for, best case scenario for me, that Jesus came to the Americas.
Okay. What would you like to start with? Let's start with one. What's a historical fact in the Book of Mormon regarding visits to the Americas that you believe you can demonstrate?
Yeah. So I guess throughout history, I don't know if you guys don't know, but in Mesoamerica, when the Spanish came, when they saw Cortez, they thought, oh, here's the God that our ancestors talked about that was going to come, aka Quetzalcoatl, right? They thought that Cortez was this white bearded God that came. So taking that historic fact that happened, we can just look at that as like, okay, yeah, that's something that a lot of cultures thought when. Same with Pizarro in Peru, and so on and so forth, all throughout in the Americas. And we see a connection that they all thought the same thing, even though culturally they believe in different types of gods. But they all have something in common, that when they saw a white Spaniard that's bearded or shiny, I guess, because of their...
Whoa.
armor.
Wait, I just want to stop you for a second. So you're saying that the evidence for Mormonism is that when white people came to the Americas, native people in the Americas thought that they were gods because, God help me, they hadn't seen white people before and assumed that white people were gods. And I'm really hoping that this doesn't entail that you think Jesus was somehow white and came to America, and thus, since they saw Jesus and incorporated him as a god, that they would assume all white people were gods. Please, for the love of everything, tell me that's not the case.
No. So, I mean, that's.
I really want you to spend time demonstrating the truth of the Book of Mormon, because of all the religions, of all the religions, this is the one of two that we can be most confident are absolute forgery bullshit. Joseph Smith was a con artist. There's no such thing as the language that he says he was. Sorry?
Yeah, he was.
Right. So the founder and the author, the guy who claimed to see the golden plates, the guy that claimed to describe, to transcribe them, or to translate them, was a big old con artist. And there's no archaeological evidence supporting either the plates or what the plates say. So what's your case for Mormonism?
Yeah. So the Book of Mormon, going back to everything I just said, the Book of Mormon talks about these certain instances that happened, that there was this God, Jesus, whatever, that came to the Americas. And
the Book of Mormon says that, but the Book of Mormon also says that they built a submarine out of wood with magical rocks that glowed that they found on a mountain, and took that submarine to America. Like the Book of Mormon also says that.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about the Jaredites. I'm talking about.
But you know that can't be the case. So you're. Which is the story of how they initially got to the Americas, right?
I want, what is the strongest evidence you have that the Book of Mormon is true?
Yes. So, the strongest evidence that I personally have would have to be.
Oh my God, get to it.
Ones. Yeah. Like I said, the historical stories that come from the people, and also from the natives themselves, and also from their enemies, which were the Spaniards also. They tell the same story, that when they came, they were treated as such, and the natives also tell the same.
Nothing that you've spoken since I shut up is remotely relevant to demonstrating the Book of Mormon's truth. The fact that different cultures interacted and tell similar stories about that interaction is expected.
How is that expected if they're different cultures, though they're not all the same?
They're reporting the story the same is expected. And the notion that similar cultures come up with similar solutions to similar problems don't
come to a different continent, and it's expected for them to think that they're gods already.
Okay, we're back to what is your argument that they thought that they were gods? Because I laid it out for you before, and it seems to me that you're saying that they thought that they were. 1 second, let me finish, please. It seems to me that you're saying that they thought that these people were gods because they had seen what you would say is a god before in Jesus, and that these people looked like Jesus. So they were assuming they were gods because the only person they'd ever seen that looked like them was a god. Is that what you're saying?
It was kind of wordy, and I'm kind of forgetting, but I want to say yes. Essentially, what I'm saying is that when
all these different cultures had an experience with a deity that looked like the white people that then came there, and because they saw these white people, these cultures assumed that they were gods because the only point of reference they had for white people was Jesus. Now, I really want you to think really long and hard about where Jesus came from for just a minute, because Jesus was a Palestinian Jew, and in all likelihood was not white and looked absolutely nothing like those people.
And I agree. And I think it's more like symbolic, white meaning like purity, shiny.
Oh, no, goodbye. See you later. Off you go. The end.
Hang on.
That'll be the end of that for me. Nope.
Okay,
Won't be
well,
entertained
I'm
that
in
anymore,
complete
sorry.
disagreement with my co-host here because there is this notion not about the white race, but about white as color, as light, and those sorts of things. And so you can get there without it being a racist thing. I just think. Well, no. I get it, not for Mormonism, but we can't get there. I mean, but in any case, there's no way he was going to demonstrate the truth of anything in Mormonism because of all the various religions that we interact with. Scientology and Mormonism are the two that are most obviously made up bullshit within, living memory, pretty much.
Yeah, no, sorry. We can agree to disagree on that, but I'm not going to talk about white meaning purity with a Mormon because I know what that means in that general context. Athesist,
yeah, no worries.
What would you like to discuss today?
Can you hear me better now?
Yeah. What is the one thing that is everything?
All right. So this one thing is actually you. And it's
No. I am not one. I am not the universe. There's me, there's Shannon, there's you. This notion that I am the one, or any one of us is the one, or that we're all the one is bullshit. I can't even believe you called back to say that.
It's fine. It's all point of view. It's all about points.
No, it's not a point. It's all point of view. There are some things that are either true or not true. And if you just want to color the existence of everybody as if they're one, your point of view is irrelevant to reality.
I would like to prove some stuff. And then
I don't care. I mean, you called back to say that I am everything.
Not this alone. I can also prove that in many.
Okay, then stop, Asif. You said that can we agree that everything is just one thing? And when we asked what it is, you said it was me. So what is it?
Okay, so can I?
What is it?
It's everything. Everything is everything. Can we agree about
Congratulations for your tautology. Everything is everything, but that doesn't mean that it's one thing.
I can talk about another point if this point.
No, you can't actually talk about any points. Goodbye.
We don't have a good average today.
No, and, I'd like to say it's my fault, but
maybe it's mine.
Holy crap.
I so enjoy like good conversations, but it's hard. Okay, we'll talk to Tristan. Hi, Tristan. What would you like to talk about today?
I'm just I believe there is I don't know which word to use, objective or intrinsic.
Okay. Well, what are you describing?
Intrinsic. So it's inherent to the properties of the universe outside of humans, right?
What is?
From the equation, it is still the.
What is? We don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I believe there is a intrinsic, like, morality. Yeah, there we go.
Oh, okay. Like, you're talking about
intrinsic morality. So morality is about an agent assessing something to determine whether or not it is good or bad. How could that possibly be intrinsic?
Because I believe it can be intrinsic if there is an objective moral agent or moral thing. I don't want to say agent.
No. Those are two different things. Something could be objective, and that doesn't mean that it's intrinsic. Intrinsic means that it is a property, emergent or regular, of an item or a thing. What is the for this can of Coke Zero? What is the intrinsic moral value of it? Good or bad, or neither?
I don't know.
I don't either, because my view of morality doesn't give things intrinsic properties of morality. Matter of fact, morality is all about actions and consequences, which by definition are about the interaction of things and not about the things themselves, which means there can be no intrinsic property of the thing that is moral or not moral.
Okay, I understand that. I'm trying to phrase this. If there is something out there like a god or anything that is inherently moral or good in one way or another. Not that I'm making any statement towards that there is, but the idea that there could be, and we don't know.
I don't know that there could be, but that's a big if.
Well, there may not be. I'm not. Even if there is no possibility, we don't know.
Tristan, you called in to say that you believe that intrinsic good does exist, and now you're arguing that you think it's possible.
No. So it's based on the idea that there could be something that is intrinsically good.
I'm not. Okay, stop. First of all, wow. I just demonstrated that there couldn't be something that is intrinsically good, that is impossible. But even if it weren't, you called in to say that you believe intrinsic good does exist, right?
Yes.
Now you're saying, instead of arguing, here's why I believe intrinsic good does exist, you're saying, if there were some inherently good being, that's not how you demonstrate the truth stuff. I could say, I believe the sky is orange and start my proof with, if there were orange sky pixies,
no, so I understand that so the idea of, or what I'm trying to say is, if there is, like, because I do believe there is intrinsic good, but the idea spawns from it spawns from there being either a being that is good morally or intrinsically, a being that is intrinsically good, or it doesn't matter whether or not it's a being or an idea. If a creature or a thing cannot be intrinsically good, a creature that is good, like a god or something. I don't necessarily believe that there is a god or something that is.
Okay, Tristan, listen to me very closely. You just said you believe there is intrinsic good, and this belief is based on if there is a God. And then you said, I don't necessarily believe there is a God. You have both said you believe something that is strictly contingent on something else that you say you don't believe in. You are logically confused, horribly confused. You have an incoherent position.
I'm trying to, I'm sorry. I believe that if there is something intrinsic good, it's not whether or not there is one, because that's in
Tristan, I don't care about I believe if, because I could say I believe in a God if in fact there's a God. And would that make me quit the atheist experience? No, it's a completely useless statement. It tells you nothing. You said that you believe in something, but you don't believe in the thing that you say that it's necessarily contingent on. And that is a problem.
No, it's not contingent.
It is. I'm sorry. No. Stop, Tristan. You specifically said that you think intrinsic good does exist and that this was based on the notion that there's a God or some being that has this as a property. That's what contingent means. Based on, conditional upon. And so you believe something, but you say you don't believe the thing that it's based on. This is what I mean when I say you have an incoherent position.
So that wasn't what I was trying to say, and I didn't mean to convey it incorrectly. I believe there is intrinsic good. The intrinsic
Why?
good, I believe, is gaining knowledge.
So no, stop. No. You said you believe there's intrinsic good, and that's what you believe. Now tell me why you believe that.
Well, I'm getting there. I believe it's gaining knowledge, and the gaining knowledge.
No, stop, Tristan. Please listen to me. Please, I'm begging you, please listen to me. You told me what you believe, that there is intrinsic good.
Yes.
When I say, tell me why, you should not be saying a further description of what intrinsic good is. You should be telling me why. So why do you believe there's intrinsic good? Not you think there's intrinsic good, and that intrinsic good is acquiring knowledge. I don't give a fuck what you think the intrinsic good is. I'm asking, why do you believe this?
I'm trying to explain that because that helps I don't know how to explain without adding that contingent to it. Because it doesn't make sense if I don't add that contingent to it, at least to me. That's why I'm adding it to it. The acquiring knowledge is...
Christian, tell me why you believe that acquiring knowledge is intrinsically good. Tell me why you believe that.
Because we don't know everything in the universe. Because we don't know everything, there could be something that is intrinsically good or not. We don't know. And we don't even know if it's even possible. But the lack of knowledge, the lack of something that could be, means that we need to try and know everything in the universe, because if there is something that is inherently good or bad, we should find out whether or not it exists in the first place. Even if
Kristen, though, so sorry to interject. I know I've been very, very quiet, but you need to recognize that in your justification, you said the words, "We don't know if there is anything that is intrinsically good in the universe." Like, you said that in your justification for why acquiring knowledge is intrinsically good. You said, you recognize that, right? You said there is intrinsic good. That intrinsic good is acquiring knowledge. The reason it's intrinsically good is because we need to acquire knowledge in order to find out if there is anything that is intrinsically good. That's your line of reasoning as I followed it.
So, yeah, from what I understand, my entire point falls apart once we know everything, and there is no intrinsic.
No, sir.
It fell apart a little bit before that, I think.
Your point fell apart earlier in this call. Your point does not fall apart when we know everything. Your point fell apart when you started talking after the first sentence.
Yeah, because your justification for why something is intrinsically good is we need to find out if there are things that are intrinsically good. And the only way to find out if there are things that are intrinsically good is to acquire knowledge. Thus, it's intrinsically good to acquire knowledge so that we can find out if things are, in fact, intrinsically good.
How did you demonstrate that acquiring knowledge isn't actually intrinsically bad?
True.
Maybe ignorance is the preferable position.
It could be. But
then stop. I'm completely done with you. You just agreed to the exact opposite of the thing that you said you believed. You said you believed it was intrinsically good, and now you're saying it could be intrinsically bad. We don't know.
Yeah.
Stop saying you believe stuff when the truth is you don't know, and you're just interested in finding out. You can join the rest of us, but if you just stop saying, I believe there's intrinsic good, you could do that by saying, I'd like to find out whether or not there's intrinsic good.
And then leave it at that.
Well, I do believe that, but
Stop digging, Tristan. You've reached rock bottom.
Yeah, just like think about the path that you followed there and the justifications you use for that path and how it kind of makes a circle. And maybe call us back after you've had a chance to listen back. And thank you for calling us today. Have a good rest of your weekend, Tristan. All right. Are you ready for another one, Matt? You got it in you?
I'm ready for anything.
Oh, yeah. All right. We're going to talk to Kyle. Hello, Kyle. What would you like to talk about today?
Yeah, so I guess I should start background. So I run this, I'm a philosophy student and I study the philosophy of religion pretty well. I looked at both sides pretty in depth. So today I wanted to sort of have a little, not back and forth. I know it's not like a debate or anything, but like I want to get your guys' thoughts on this new, it's not an argument per se, but it's sort of a way of thinking about necessary existence. And something that necessarily exists is something that cannot fail to exist in any possible world. And I think all philosophers of religion, whether they're theists or atheists, would agree that there is something in nature that has necessary existence, basically something that has to exist by necessity, right? It could be the universe, it could be some quantum vacuum, it could be whatever, right? So that's a consensus, I wouldn't call it consensus, but like it's generally agreed upon that's like that necessary existence is a real thing in the world. Okay.
I really wish you'd stop telling us what's agreed upon. And actually, it says here that you say that theism has better explanatory power than naturalism. So already, if that's the sum of your position, you're contrasting two things that aren't necessarily an accurate dichotomy. So I want you to get to whatever point it is without trying to teach me what you say everybody else agrees on.
Right. Okay. So the next point I want to sort of bring up is in regards to what explains necessary existence, right? And I think that if you say that the foundation necessary existence is perfection, something that's perfect, then perfection would necessarily include all perfections, and one of those perfections is going to be necessary existence. Sorry.
I reject your assertion that perfection is a property of existence. I've done this with Anselm's ontological argument and Alvin Plantinga's version. I don't agree that perfection is necessary at all.
I know, but okay, so
I know, but okay is not the response that I would be expecting to that. If this is one of your premises and I reject it, then as somebody studying philosophy, we should be done, right?
Well, yeah. So, okay. So
yeah.
I want to sort of get the justification for why you would think that, because I don't think a necessary being, if it's contingent, it can't be necessary by definition, right? So that's a part of the part of the definition is being necessary.
I don't. So no. You just jumped from something is necessary to a necessary being. And that is also massively dishonest, because I already told you that what I rejected was the notion of perfection, but I don't accept that there is a necessary being. And the consensus of the scholars that talk about that you wanted to say, most everybody agrees there's something that is necessary existent. Most of them don't think that it's necessarily a being. So you've jumped from the realm of, hey, something must necessarily exist. We don't know what it is. And you even acknowledge that maybe it's, the universe or quarks or whatever, to now there's a necessary being. And you didn't do any of that work. And I don't accept your thing on perfection.
No, right. So my point is that perfection actually explains its own necessity, whereas any sort of naturalistic answer you give to that question, why is the universe necessary? Why is anything else necessary? Those cannot explain. There's nothing internal to them that explains their necessary existence.
But you're using a premise that he rejected in order to justify your position.
Not only that, the fact that naturalism may not offer an explanation for something now doesn't mean that it will always be in a position where it doesn't offer an explanation for it. And the fact that naturalism doesn't offer an explanation perhaps at all does not mean that theism or anything or supernaturalism offers an explanation at all either, because supernaturalism is pointing to things that are mystery, and you can't solve a mystery by appealing to a bigger mystery.
No, that's a good point, and I agree that there. I don't. So okay, my sort of theism would not include the supernatural. Okay, what I'm saying is
no, stop, Kyle, because if your version doesn't include the supernatural, then all you have is the natural, which means naturalism is.
That's I don't. So. I'm trying to open your mind to what I would call a supreme naturalism, where the foundation is supreme, it's still natural, it's still the same kind of thing.
No, this is a load of nonsense. See, you started with the call screener by contrasting naturalism and theism, and I pointed out that those two aren't a true dichotomy. And then you point out that your version of theism doesn't include the supernatural; it includes supernatural, or whatever it was you called it, just to make it distinct from the natural. If you don't include the supernatural, then naturalism is all there is.
For balance in all.
No, right. So what I'm saying is, let's take. Okay, so
Kyle, I'm gonna let you finish.
Yeah.
Too dangerous.
But when you say no, right, I know that you're not paying attention and actually thinking about it, because those are contradictory things. No means I'm wrong. Right means I agree.
No, right. So I would agree with you.
Congratulations on doing it immediately after. Go ahead.
Okay, so what I'm saying is I can agree with you guys that all that exists is the natural, right? But what I'm saying is, okay, let's just modify so whatever the necessary thing is, let's just modify it and make it supreme, right? And just take out.
I'm not interested in making shit up. I actually wanted to have conversations with people who believe in God for good reason.
No, I know, but
no.
Oh my goodness. All right. Are you ready for another one?
I don't know. I feel like I'm
Are you at your apex?
It's like I feel like I'm the only one that's been talking, and that's rude to you. And so I owe Shannon a massive apology. So I will sit here and do my best to not call bullshit on the next caller.
You're absolutely fine. You're good. All right, David, what would you like to talk about? Hello, David.
Oh,
David.
Hi.
Hi.
Yes.
What would you like to talk about?
So I'm a atheist, and for Matt, I'm a foreman, a former Mormon.
You should have been on the call earlier.
I know that he was. I heard. Yes, that was eventful. I have a mini library in my room, and I have a Book of Mormon in my library in my religion section, next to the God Delusion.
Wonderful.
Yes, so I was Mormon all my life until I was about 17, 18. Wanted to believe, knew there had to be some God, something like that. And I started really having lots of issues, just depression and just the regular problems with not knowing where you want to be with your life.
Mm-hmm.
So I started going to a therapist who is with the church. So he is a Mormon therapist trying to give advice to a atheist. And for a while, he's been really good with it, not trying to push the religion back onto me.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems that, like, within the last few months, he's been really trying to push it. And even this last session we had last week, he blatantly stated, you will not ever find any peace or joy in your life until you find out the truth about God.
You need to leave that
I find that
therapist.
incredibly unprofessional.
It is. You need to leave the therapist.
Yeah, I've been thinking that too. Yeah, I know about the secular therapist program and everything like that. It's just he's the most affordable, I guess, for me right now, and that's the only reason I'm really staying with him.
Him being affordable and him being able to help you are two very different things. You're currently spending whatever money you're spending on somebody who's attempting to re-indoctrinate you, when what your concern is being able to deconstruct. And if he's not going to be able to help you deconstruct, which is what you're looking for, and support you through that as your choice, then he is somebody that at this point in time, regardless of how expensive he is not going to be of assistance. So simply because he holds the name counselor or therapist does not mean that he is deserving of whatever money it is that you're spending on him right now.
Yeah, that's what I've been thinking and kind of just going back and forth on. I told him that my biggest issues, because I did similar to, I guess, the story with Matt, where he went through and he read the Bible and he was trying to, he was already studying, but I was going through, I wanted to believe again. I wanted to have the answer. So I went through and I reread and I saw a lot of the issues that the Bible has.
Mm-hmm.
And same thing with the Book of Mormon that it has. And I told my therapist, I have very strong moral problems with the God of the Bible and the God that you choose to believe in. And he was asking me, what makes you think that God is this angry, horrible person? What makes you think that that there's anything wrong with him? So I brought up a lot of the issues with rape and slavery and all these things and the Exodus 21. And he's, I've never heard of that, but I'm definitely going to go through and read it, and we can have a conversation about it this next session. I'm going to go through and read it in the full context, because I think that you just read it and wanted to find something wrong with God and the Bible. So we can have a conversation.
Your therapist is imbuing intent upon you, which is something that a therapist should not do. A therapist's job is to help you discover via introspection what your intentions are and explore those, what your feelings are and explore those. It is never to ascribe intentions to you. So if you have a therapist who is telling you you feel X way because Y, and is telling you what your intentions are, as opposed to asking you to explore what your intentions are, regardless of their theological background, that is something to take umbrage with, because they are there to help you explore and go on your journey. And if they are specifically attempting to counter you when it comes to whatever belief system you have, that is also something that would be a red flag. because it is not the job of a mental health professional to shepherd someone into or out of belief systems. It is their job to guide them through their own self-directed journey regarding what they do or do not believe, and help figure out the best ways to create structures internally through, like I said, through introspection, to support the person through that. Not to tell them what that journey should look like for them and what they should believe or shouldn't believe and what their intentions are toward belief.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was trying to talk about that, and then because I know he's gonna, because I'm supposed to see him tomorrow morning. He's gonna try to come at me with apologetics about slavery. So, I'm gonna read biblical scholar writings and because they have more information than either of us and all these things. And just,
if you feel like you have to do theological homework in order to prepare yourself in order to deal with a therapist, your therapist is not doing right by you.
Yeah, I mean, if you wanted to have a conversation with him, I just held up Josh's book. There's plenty of things to point them to, but honestly,
there's not the space for that.
I don't know why you would. I mean, apart from just curiosity and interest, first of all, you need to find a different therapist. If you want to continue to argue with your current therapist about what the Bible does or doesn't say because you care about them or you like the conversation, that's fine. But I'm more concerned about making sure you get the help you need rather than taking this time that you're paying for or supposed to be working with someone on issues and debating the Bible with someone who clearly does not know it.
yeah, absolutely.
You should never have to do homework or hype yourself up mentally in order to be able to deal with what you're afraid your therapist will throw at you regarding your beliefs.
Yeah.
That is not okay in that space. That is a boundary that is not to be crossed. And either way, whether it comes to deconstruction of your faith, if that's what you want help with, or affirmation of your faith, if that's what you want help with, your therapist's job is not to tell you what to believe in either of those situations. Your therapist's job is to help you introspect so that you can figure out how to best come to a healthy mental state regarding those beliefs and how they pertain to you and your existence and interactions with others and perception of yourself. Not ever to challenge you to prove that you deserve to believe what you believe.
Yeah, your therapist telling you that you're never going to get peace without God is already that's a
red flag.
A game over right there.
Yeah, hit the eject button.
It's the whole reason we have the Secular Therapist Project.
Yeah, that was absolutely my thought there too, because I mean, like I said, for a while he was really good with it, and I've kind of
I want to know if there's somebody to report him to with regard to licensing, because that's just not supposed to happen.
Correct.
Yeah, because like for a while, like whenever I first started going to him, I was more okay with the idea because maybe I'm wrong, maybe there is a God, maybe I just didn't understand or didn't pray enough. All the fallacious arguments, all the backwards thinking that you go through trying to not have to fall out of your base. And over my time, because I've been seeing him for a couple of years on and off, he'll be quiet about it. He won't bring it up. And then, as a lot of cults and a lot of religions do, they'll prey on you when you're the most vulnerable.
Yes.
And it feels like whenever I finally have some form of breakthrough, that's when he says, see, that's what if you keep doing this, then you'll understand. If you follow God, you'll have this experience more and more.
David, I want to report this guy right away. We need to figure out what body this is, because you're even recognizing this and you're seeing it. Not only is your therapist starting off by telling you there's no way you can heal without God, which is a horrible, horrible mistake. But to do that where, okay, we're not going to talk about it for a while, and every time you have a breakthrough, he wants to turn it on as God, he needs to be reported to whatever bodies is overseeing his licensing and stuff. That's...
Using a moment of weakness to proselytize to you is abhorrent. That is a massive ethical violation. That is a massive ethical violation. I'm glad that you recognize it enough that you were looking for some external affirmation, and I hope that you received it, because it sounds to me as though he's not somebody that should be working with people if that's what he uses that opportunity for. If he uses that opportunity to preach his specific religion or any religion at all, when
I want him to lose his job.
Vulnerability, that is disgusting.
Yeah, I want him to lose his job.
Yeah, he's been. I mean, he's part of the church, and the church will pay for like his services if you go and you pay your tithing. You show up every Sunday. They'll pay for your services if you feel you need them. They also, I know that at least I believe he works.
Is he a religious counselor or a registered therapist? This is a very important question, because religious counselors actually don't operate with the jurisdiction for them is the church, because of the loophole in the United States regarding separation of church and state. So they are allowed to present themselves as counselors, even though they do not have a degree and do not actually report into a governing body at all or require a license outside of the diocese that is overseeing them, which sounds to me like is what this person is.
I love that you said it sounds to me and there was a meow.
No.
I know he has his doctorates in family counseling and his degrees. I don't know what, I guess.
Find out if he's registered. He may have a doctorate in family counseling and not actually be registered as a licensed therapist in whatever state it is that you're in and report to any board, because he may have opted instead, because you can use this as a loophole to work for the church as a counselor. And the ambiguity in the name allows this as a loophole to work as a counselor. And because I cover this on my channel quite frequently, because it drives me absolutely insane, because people see these people who have potentially legitimate degrees, even though they aren't registered with any sort of oversight, because they're connected to the church. So the church becomes their oversight, and they pay them, and they inject without oversight, which means that you wouldn't actually be able to report this person, unfortunately, because of the legal loopholes within the states and how separation of church and state operates, because that is their oversight, is the church. And it's like this artifice of legitimacy where a counselor that a church is referring to you isn't actually operating as an independent counselor that reports to any sort of counseling or therapy board that's state recognized, but instead is overseen by the diocese, and just kind of has the same name and does the same sort of thing. And they give you to them under the guise of them helping you through your mental health issues, when in fact their entire job is to help you with your mental health issues only insofar as it retains you as a parishioner of that diocese.
I'm wondering, David, does this individual, does he like do Zoom counseling?
He's done a couple with me before, just whenever the pandemic really started up. But
because I'd like to hire him so that I can expose him.
Oh, there's a lot of them.
But
way too many.
That's how irritating this is.
Yeah.
For me, but I'm sorry, but I imagine, as irritating as for us to hear, it's got to be more irritating for you to actually be dealing with. So.
Yeah, I did a whole series on this. If you'd like to watch it, that explains their licensing. It's called How to Be a Christian Counselor. It's on my channel. I know I'm probably not supposed to do this, but it explains with the actual references what these people do in great detail, and how they get their degrees, and how they get oversight, and how they give the artifice of legitimacy, and the churches refer you to them under the guise of them being mental health professionals, and they kind of seem like it, and maybe even have a background into it, but have no oversight outside of the church, and are allowed to do this because they're operating under the auspices of the diocese and not of any registered board, which is why anybody who is seeking mental health, like professional help with mental health, should check to see if the counselor or therapist that they are going to see is registered in the state as a counselor or therapist with oversight so that they can make sure that they actually have to meet the requirements for practice that these people do not have to meet. So I would check right away to see if he even is registered with the board in your state. And based on what you're saying, if you were referred by the church and he's starting to inject this religious practice with impunity, with no fear of any sort of consequence, I would probably think that he's got a bunch of degrees on his wall and maybe has a background in it, but is not registered and is not being overseen by the state, but is instead being overseen by the church due to that loophole. So check to see if he's registered. Everybody should do that, especially if they're referred to a counselor by the church, because it's a sneaky little bullshit thing that they do, and it's frigging infuriating.
Yeah.
My pet peeve.
Yeah, it seems like, I mean, it's been kind of nice because I did call you guys and was hoping to talk to you guys about that and get, like you said, the external affirmation. I even have even my mother, she's still a part of the church. My family on my mother's side are all a part of the church. And even my mom was like, that's not cool. Like, if you've told him not to do that before, then why is he doing that? That's not okay. But then she also, but I guess because he is part of the church, he feels that he has the duty to protect the gospel and the religion and
conceivable.
I don't know this.
I bet you $1 million he's not even registered with oversight in his state.
Yeah, it actually surprised me. And the thing that you're talking about there, that he feels this obligation, this is the same thing that happens with our elected representatives who they don't have to surrender their religion at the door. They don't have to stop and give up their religion, but they cannot be actively working to legislate their religion onto other people. And therapists, no matter how beholden they feel to the church or to religion, they are not there to proselytize on behalf of their particular religion to their patient. As a matter of fact, the best clinical practices for therapists would have you remain completely neutral or affirming of what the patient's view, and finding out a way for them to improve and better themselves and solve this issue or move beyond it, given the tools that they have, not and science tools that you can give them, not, oh, you need to reach out to God. I mean, it's kind of stunning.
Yeah. The most important thing I want anybody ever to take away from this conversation that you and I had is anytime you seek help, a mental health professional, especially if you're referred to by a church or a religious person, validate, even otherwise, just anytime you are seeking out a mental health professional, because there's so much ambiguity with regulation, is check to see what board within your state or whatever jurisdiction they are registered in. Yep. To make sure that they have regulated oversight, because there's a lot of people who use the ambiguity just in the very word counselor to get away with not even having degrees or having mill degrees or having ulterior motives that present themselves as mental health counselors when in fact that is not what they do.
I hope that's helpful, Dave, and I hope that David, and I hope that you find a way to find another therapist and move forward with this situation. But we're like way over time, so can you call us back and give us an update on what you decided and what happened and how it's going?
Yeah, definitely. I'd absolutely love to do that. I've tried to call you guys before, so thank you so much.
Yeah,
no problem. Thank
much
you.
appreciated. Thank
you, David. It's actually my pet peeve. So I rambled on, and I actually have to host the line in 45 minutes. So I'm glad.
Yeah, I know. I hope people realize that, first of all, I was having fun, and I'm incredibly frustrated when I ask simple questions and people just don't answer the question. But also, I know Shannon's got a whole other show to do, and I don't have anything to do but eat dinner and watch that show while a puppy yells at me.
Yeah.
So,
all right. Well, I have nothing else to contribute except for thank you for having me back. Sorry, I didn't say much. I don't suffer people who have no intention of having an actual dialogue very well. So
yeah,
there was way too much of that tonight, in my opinion, unfortunately.
Yes, and next time, well, we'll talk about next time. Yeah. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Thank you to Shannon for being here. Thank you to the crew who make this show possible and do all the awesome stuff right there behind the scenes. Don't forget to tune in to all of the other ACA content.